Second topic of Lecturette series. Let's get started. According to the World Bank, definition of corruption is the abuse of public power for private benefit. Now, this is the topic for today, which is corruption. Since the topic is vast, so I'll be limiting myself to four broad heads, which are: what is the history of corruption? What are the causes of corruption? Number 3, what are the laws against corruption? And finally, the way forward. So when we go back into the history, so the evidence of corruption can be found as far as mankind exists, as far as there is evidence of existence of a central authority. So when we go back to 321 BC and we come across the Mauryan Empire, so in that Kautilya's Arthashastra, it mentions how to make the state free of corruption. Moving slightly ahead into history, we come to the Mughal period or medieval India. So here also we can see with the examples of rulers such as Muhammad Shah Rangila, who was a weak ruler, and such weak rulers, they got involved in corrupt practices whereby the nobles would gain power and they would try to strong arm the king into getting kingdoms of their own. Even Aurangzeb, who was a mighty ruler, had introduced several reforms, market reforms, to curb corruption. However, he was not able to curb it completely. Now, let's move ahead in time and let's look at the British India. When Robert Clive came to India, he had expansionary motives, and under this, he would interact with the local rulers. However, when he went back after his tenure to the Great Britain, he was charged with corrupt practices. Now, let's take a look into post-independence India. So from 1950s to 1990s, there was license Raj. Most of the companies were governed by the state or the government of India, and this led to a lot of requirement of licenses. These licenses were obtained through various malpractices, including corruption. And coming to the more recent examples, such as the 2010 Commonwealth Games scam, whereby the stadiums were made with inferior materials and the roof collapsed in Delhi, as well as 2G spectrum scam. So all of this indicates towards a problem which is of corruption. Now, let's move on to the causes. What are the causes of corruption? So as highlighted by the examples, the number one cause for corruption is rules and regulations. So whenever there are strict rules and regulations, it will lead to bribery. A most recent example would be the Motor Vehicles Act. The fines are so exorbitant that people, they resort to giving bribes. Number 2, taxation. Whenever there is huge taxation involved and the public is being charged with high amounts of taxes, they will try to avoid it and they will try to bribe the official who is collecting tax. There are numerous examples to this. That is why the government has introduced faceless tax assessment. Number 3, subsidies. Subsidies basically provide goods to the public at a cheaper rate as compared to the market. Now what happens is that these goods are acquired by the public officials and they are sold in the black market at higher prices, thereby giving them some profit. A very well-known example would be the ration card scheme or the public distribution system. The fourth reason for corruption would be the capitalist and politician nexus. It is common knowledge that political parties are funded by capitalists. Now, why does this happen? So that when a particular political party comes into the power, they make rules and regulations according to the capitalists. So these were the causes, and next we come to the laws and the legal framework available for fighting corruption. These would be divided into two parts, which is the first one is the regulatory framework. Second one is the legal framework. Regulatory framework basically involves some kind of bodies which are there in order to make more laws, and the legal framework is the already existing legal system. Now, under regulatory frameworks, we have two bodies very specifically. Number 1 is Lokpal and Lokayukt, which has the power to investigate public functionaries, even including ex-prime ministers. The second regulatory body is the Central Vigilance Commission, which aids and assists and advises the government in formulation of anti-corruption measures. The second part of the legal system is the legal framework. There are few examples such as the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Then we have the Companies Act 2013 as well as the Right to Information Act. So all this legal framework, it tries to fight off one evil, that is of corruption. Now, moving to the way forward. So, the simple answer to the way forward is that the only way to curb corruption is to reduce it. Since we know that since time immemorial, whenever the state has existed, along with it, corruption has existed. So, strict implementation of laws would be the way forward. As in the previous years, the corruption perception index has improved India's rank, and today India stands at 93 out of 180 countries. Thank you.